Hey everybody out there in YouTube land. We're here today to take a look at this 1971 Marshall Bluesbreaker. Sadly, someone has taken it out of its original 212 cabinet and put it in the small head box. We're going to be comparing it to this 1971 Marshall lead amp, a sound that a lot of people are already familiar with, so it should make a good comparison. Please stay tuned at the end of the video for more information on the Marshall Bluesbreaker and how we got the sounds we got today in the studio. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the sound demonstration. I'd just like to take a few minutes to give you and everyone a quick rundown on the amps I got started with and why me and so many other people put the Marshall Bluesbreaker on the pedestal as far as sound quality and the price range that they're currently in. I started off playing Fender twin reverb amps, which of course have 6L6 tubes in them, and we'd, wide jack the channels and jump them and play two twins at once. Ended up, with Seymour Duncan's in the bridge on Strats, and just cranking the amps up to get the natural sound. And I've always really been a plug and play kind of guitar player. Pedals have never really been my thing, or master volume amplifiers. So moving on, I pretty much went through every Fender amp you could imagine, searching for the tone that I wanted and the volume that I needed. And I, after owning so many Marshall heads, 100 watts and 50 watts and even 200 watts, I went to a guitar show and was surprised to see a guy named Marty. Maybe some of you guys know him here on the East Coast, a dealer that had a Bluesbreaker for $8,000. Now, this was probably 10 years ago, roughly 2008. And, $8,000 was a lot of money for an amp, 10 years ago and even today. And I thought, now, why would anyone want to spend that kind of money, for a 50-watt amp when, they could just buy a regular 50-watt Marshall head, like a 68 at that time would have been roughly $3,800. Today, they're going as high as $5,000 just for the heads now. So they've really been increasing in value. But anyways, after my adventures, I found that a 20-watt deluxe reverb would give me the sound that I needed, the volume that I needed, and the versatility in tones from overdrive to clean tones. And then later on, I moved into the Marshall 18-watt Bluesbreaker 212. Now, I own a 1968 mini Bluesbreaker, and that amp, it was originally a 20-watt Marshall that someone had converted to an 18-watt, and that served me well. Well, I still found an empty spot, in my guitar tones, and I wanted a bigger sound. So, what I did is I looked for the Marshall Bluesbreaker for some time, and I found one after the Nashville Guitar Show, kind of late at night on eBay, about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it turned out it came up for $5,500, and I went ahead and bought it, and picked it up and everything, talked to the guy, and it turns out he said he did have the big Bluesbreaker, and I told him I'd rather buy that one. He said, no, you bought this one. If you want to buy that one, you can still buy that one. Well, so I sold a lot of my guitars, and I went ahead and bought that amplifier, and I can't remember, that was like $8,000, $8,200, something like that. And it was supposed to be a 1968 Bluesbreaker. Well, it was a pinstripe, and it turned out that it was actually a fake. Now, this amp we've used on our channel here, in years in the past, and even though, it was built to deceive, and a lot of people are not going to like what I have to say, it did originate from an original Marshall tremolo head, a lot of the parts, and the transformers and this and that, were original, and the Genelex gold line tubes. So the tones from that amp were absolutely authentic tones, even though it housed the 139 EL34 output transformer and not the 103 KT66 output transformer. Still a good source for guitar tones. Anyways, I was taking pictures of the amp one day here in the studio, and that's when I noticed a couple little holes in the grill cloth at the bottom of the amp, and that's something that you probably want to look for if you're looking at a Bluesbreaker. Those holes were where the 6-inch decal was actually on the grill cloth on the cabinet at one time, where someone had taken it off a cabinet and made a fake Bluesbreaker box and installed the grill cloth. And so anyways, after finding out that the amp was a really dishonest amp with a repro production panel and this and that, I traded it out for a 69 SG Custom, and I missed the Bluesbreaker. So I was, for months at a time, I was definitely on the hunt for a JTM 45 and something that's really going to cover that bass with 6L6s or KT66s and the Marshall tone. I run across this amp, and it had EL34s, and it wasn't sounding too good. Got it home, turns out it was running at 400 volts on the plates roughly, And, you know, a lot of EL34s really like 450 volts. So what I did is I actually put it on a Variac, which I have down here, and I dropped it down to 110 volts, and I threw the 6L6s. I had some old Philcos in the back, and they ran just fine. I checked the plate voltage, and it was 360 volts. Then I got up to about 407, 408. Started sounding really good, and that's how we got the sound here on this video. So, well, all right. Thanks for listening to all my rambling, and thanks for tuning in again. Check out our channel for our latest videos. All right, thanks. All right, bye.